Hello everybody, welcome back to Pixie Woo. Today I'm going to do a little bit of colour correcting or skin correcting and a little bit of blemish covering. I'm going basically back to basics, some steps that we've missed out that you may think, oh, I never know. Yeah, the foundation looks good on her, but what colour can I use? How can I make that work for me? Obviously I can't give you all colours that will work for you because this is just me, but hopefully I can give you enough information that you can work out what would be right for you. So, start off with, I've got a few blemishes, so I thought great time to do a colour corrective because I can show you how I get my skin to look better. Obviously, if you've got blemishes, they're risen anyway, so you're never going to make them look flat. The texture is always going to be risen. So when you see people that have their skin done and they look like they've got loads of red blotches, they either don't have acne and their skin is actually flat and it's just redness and that's what they've covered, so their skin looks perfect afterwards. If you have acne, or scarring's different, but if you have acne and you've got a fresh blemish, then it's going to be risen. You can't hide that. So I just want to get that out first. If you do have blemishes that are risen or that are scabbed over or anything like that, you can't hide that. You can cover it and we can try to make it look as discreet as possible, but it's never going to not be there. It's always going to look a slightly different texture. It annoys me that people can put filters on their cameras and stuff now when they're doing these sorts of videos and it's not honest, it's not showing you that it's still going to be risen. So I'm going to try and zoom in so I can actually show you that I can colour my blemishes so they don't look like they're there, but there's always going to be a slightly different texture to the skin, so don't feel like, why can't I do that? It's actually impossible to change the texture of skin. Okay, so there's my rant over. Start off with, I'm going to look at my skin. Now, looking at my skin, everyone pick up a mirror. Looking at my skin, I can see there's lots of different colours going on in my skin. Now, everyone has this. Unless you're really, really young and your skin is just one perfect colour, most people, and as we get older, their skin colours change slightly. Like I'm a little bit red around here. I'm quite a bit, probably purple under my eyes here. I'm very red here. I've got blemishes there that are red, but I'm a little bit more yellow around this area here. So I've got lots of different colours going on in my skin. Now, firstly, and this I think applies for everyone, whether you have acne or not, you want to choose the foundation that works for you. Now, acne foundations, quite often they can be like Dermablend, which covers everything, and it is a fantastic foundation. This is Vichy Dermablend, is a fantastic foundation, but it gives you like a mask straight away. Doesn't let any of your lovely skin that maybe doesn't have blemishes show through. So start off with, choose a foundation that works for you. You might go for something like Estee Lauder EE cream. This is beautiful. It allows your colour to show through. So it allows anywhere that you may have a good finish to your skin to show through, and then you're going to put other products over the top of where you don't have such a great finish. This Hourglass Foundation is my dream foundation at the moment. It is quite a good coverage. It's probably a medium to full coverage, but it photographs beautifully, so I've been wearing this a lot recently. However, I want to show you colour correcting using something a bit lighter, because this kind of does it for you anyway. So I'm going to take a little bit of my, this is in the colour light, this is Estee Lauder EE cream to start off with. I'm going to pop that on the back of my hand. Just a small amount, and I'm going to work that all the way over my skin. So I'm just taking an expert face brush, I'm going to work that into the skin. Now this is a good chance for me to explain what different brushes do as well, and sponges. So this brush, expert face brush, it's quite short, quite dense, and not really, really flat, if that makes sense, quite rounded. What that's going to do is it's going to apply a good amount of foundation, but it's also going to buff it into the skin. So it's going to work that foundation into the skin so it almost looks airbrushed and is part of the skin. So this is going to give, any foundation you use, it's going to give it a slightly less coverage. It's going to give it a real polished coverage. Now, if you're someone that wants a foundation that's going to have a much better coverage, that's going to wipe on the skin, then you want a flat foundation brush. Do I have one? You want a foundation brush like that, so it's wiping the product onto the skin and it's not buffing it away. Does that make sense? And then if you want something that's a really light finish, you want to go for something like a stippling brush that only picks up a small amount of the product and buffs it into the skin. So that's already evened my skin out a little bit. It's given my skin a lovely radiant glow. This is the thing, your skin, it depends on textures. Now, we often get asked, how do I stop the lines around my face from showing, the makeup creases in it? And if I'm honest, there is no way of doing that. There is no way. If you have creases there, it's gonna crease and the makeup is gonna sit there. The best thing you can do is keep the makeup away from this area. Make sure that the foundation matches you perfectly and your concealer matches you perfectly, and then keep it away from that area. Which is why I tend to use a slightly lighter foundation and then build in the areas I need to. Right, next I'm going to talk a little bit about concealers because it's something that so many people ask us. Now on here, this is a new matte concealer. This is called Studio Conceal and Correct Duo. We have a yellow and a pink end. This one is called Mid Peach and this one is called, sorry, it's a peach end. And this one's called Mid Yellow. Now what the Mid Yellow is going to do is, if you have, it's a naturally toned yellow. So it's for people that have a natural redness, a little bit of rosacea. For anyone that has maybe capillaries, burst capillaries that they need to cover any redness, this is going to help. It's better than a green because what a green does is it almost makes your skin look white. So a yellow is going to be something that's better. Don't go for anything too dense because you're going to look really yellow. Some people will find that if they do have pink, they don't want to put a really heavy yellow all the way over the top because then they look like they've got too much makeup on. So you want to use the right consistency. So technical. So great for rosacea or sensitive skin. I'm going to pop that over my cheeks and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to take a Deluxe crease brush and just going to buff that in. A bigger brush is better so you can really work that product in. It's not too much coverage that it's making my skin look too yellow. It's just enough. So I'm just buffing that into my skin. So it lifts it up and stops that red from looking quite so pink. I'm then going to take the peachy end. Now on the peachy end, this is to help any purpleness under the eyes, any blueness. I'm going to take that under my eyes. Now lots of brands do these sorts of things. Now I know I have a Bobbi Brown peach concealer. Becca do them, lots of places do them. And I'm just going to, just because I'm using the MAC one doesn't mean you have to, just going to buff that in so it takes away the blueness under the eye. Now, as I was talking about texture earlier, if your eyes are sunk in here, there isn't anything you can do about it. That is something that's visible and texture. It's not something you can hide with makeup. You could put cucumber on it, you can put caffeine on it to kind of help stimulate the blood underneath the eyes and get rid of the blue, and will probably puff it out a little bit, but it's something that's just there. There's nothing you can do about it. You can use a highlighter on it, but what a highlighter is going to do is it's going to reflect. So it may, to the eye, look lifted a little bit. If you use a contour, it pushes things back. If you use a highlighter, it lifts them out. So it may lift it out a little bit, but if you have your photo taken, it's going to flash because that's what it's meant to do. It's a highlighter, it's going to flash on the eyes. So there is really no winning. Don't worry too much about texture. If it's fine lines you're worried about, just don't powder. Powder the rest of the skin. So the peach under the eyes is just going to work with the ashy tones or slightly grey tones. I have a colour wheel. And colour wheels are so important because it just breaks it down for you much easier than I can explain it. And you can Google a colour wheel to show you. Basically, now on here we have a line going down and it says complementary. Complementary means if you were to put them next to each other, so complementary to green is red. So if I've got green eyes, if I put a red or a warm brown eyeshadow on, my green eyes are going to go even stronger and they're going to pop. However, if I put a green over the top of a red, it's going to counteract it out. I know how I said if you put a green over the top of the skin that's red, your skin isn't really, really red, it's just got a red undertone. If you put a green over the top, it's just going to make it look too white. It's so complicated, but I'm hoping I'm making sense to you. So, if I have blue under my eyes, then I'm going to use something that's orange, directly opposite, orange over the top of it. So if they're next to them, they make them stand out more. If they're over the top, they counteract them out. Okay? So if you've got really violet under your eyes, you're going to use a yellow under the eyes. Does that make sense? Over the top of that, to counteract it out. I'm trying to make it really simple, but it's not simple. And I think, you know, the questions we get asked the most are, am I cool or am I warm skin tone? Only you can answer that. Look in the mirror, see whether there's more yellow, see whether there's more red, see whether you like whichever you see, and then you can counteract it out. So when you're buying your foundation, don't worry what colour it says on the back of it. Whether it says sand, whether it says warm, whether it says neutral, try it on yourself and see whether it works for you and see whether it oxidises first. If it oxidises, it means it's got powder in and it's going to set darker. So confusing, isn't it? See what works for you and wear it for a little while. I've got lots of different colours on my face already, and you can see they all work together because my face colour isn't one colour. Now, you know, if you've got darker skin, you'll quite often find that you have a real dark area around here, maybe under the eyes. That might mean that, and then you have a real light yellowy tone around here. That will mean you want to use a slightly pinkier tone around the outside and then a slightly yellower tone in the middle to lift. So complicated. Blemishes. I have got this new Smashbox Concealer, which is awesome. It's really great apart from it leaks, which is so annoying. It gets all around the edge. Now, the reason I'm showing this one for blemishes is you can have something a bit more coverage. It's very lightweight, but it covers really, really well. And it also has a product in it that, I don't know what the product's called, but it has a product in it that if you have acne scarring, it will help to lessen the acne scarring as time goes on. It's got something in it that breaks it down and will lighten it a little bit. So that's great for anyone that has acne. However, if you, as I was saying earlier, if your spots or your blemishes stand out, you're not going to hide them completely. We can disguise them, but your skin is always going to look, or while you've got them, is going to look a different texture. And you're not going to have them forever. So, you know, you might have them for a while, but they won't be there forever. There's always an argument for everything. Like people say, oh, my skin's so oily. Your skin will stay youthful. If you've got oily skin, it's going to stay youthful for longer because the oils are preserving it and it's not dry, so you won't get as many lines. None of us are perfect. We just have to deal with what we've got. So I have got fair in this and I have got light medium. I think I'm more of a light medium. So I'm going to take a little bit of that. This goes such a long way, but I really like the applicator. And I'm going to push it over my blemish. Now, I'm going to get a slightly smaller brush. This one is a shading brush. I'm just going to push it over the top. Really push it over the skin. Don't try and buff it into the skin. Push it over. Then if you need to add more, do so. So you can see it's just concealed that little area. But you can still see I've got a spot there. I think this is probably a better product to use on scarring. I've got a slight scar under there, and so I'm going to just pop that on there and buff it in. So it covers scarring beautifully, sits a tiny bit in actual blemish that may have scabbed slightly. But scarring, spot on. Let's have a little go with my Nars Creamy Concealer over this blemish that's risen. See whether that's better. So I've wiped it on. I'm just going to buff it in. That's actually better, that Nars Creamy Concealer, at covering that without it looking too dry. Now what I do want to say is, those of you that have never suffered with acne, I haven't, so I don't really understand. But I just want to say it's nothing to do with hygiene or anything like that, because a lot of people make the mistake and think, oh, well, they don't wash, that's why they've got it. It's nothing to do with that. It's hormones. It's nothing to do with lack of cleanliness or anything like that. It's something that cannot be helped at all, and some people are unfortunate to get it. Now, I just wanted to get that across because I think some people don't realise that, and we shouldn't be scared of it, and we shouldn't think, oh, I'm going to catch it. It's not catching, it's something that someone else may have, so don't be freaked out by it or stare or anything like that. Just, you know, let them get on. I'm going to take a little bit of that around my nose. Because I've got redness there. And this has a slightly yellow undertone to it as well. It's going to help my redness. Now, some people that have a lot of pinkness in the skin will want to keep the pinkness, so they'll want to use a pink over the top just to soften it down. It's really trial and error, so find which works for you. But hopefully this has given you a few ideas of what might work for you. And what it's going to do is just lift the under eyes that little bit, lift that real blueness. I'm using the Nars Concealer, and the colour that I'm using is Custard. And you can see that I kept the makeup away from this area. I kept going in this dark bit here. Now mine go dark right the way around. Kept it away from there, so when I smile, it's not going to crease. Blemishes are all concealed. If you want to powder, feel free to powder. You can use a light, loose powder, or you can use something that's a bit more coverage. If you're using something that's a bit more coverage, if you use a sponge, it's going to be maximum coverage. If you use a brush, it's going to be a little bit less depending on the brush that you use. So this one's going to give you the lightest finish because it's almost like a stippling brush kind of thing. And this sort of brush will give you a medium coverage, and then the sponge is going to give you the most coverage. Or you can go for a loose powder that's just going to be a wash of colour and not really change your makeup too much. And I'm just going to give it a wash of powder, just to hold everything into place. And so we can have a look at those blemishes as well. And now I'm going to zoom in so you can see the skin. I hope that's been interesting for you guys. Probably a real rambler. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I try to answer all the comments for the first 2 days, and then it kind of gets away with me, but I do go back to it after a while. So do leave me any comments that you may want answered or anything like that, because it's really hard to think what everyone's going to ask you, and sometimes we forget things as well. And if you have any advice that you want to share with others, then feel free to leave your advice and leave any products that you've found amazing, because we'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can Instagram me pictures of whatever you've done, of the makeup, at NixiePixie1. Take care, guys. Lovely to see you. See you next time. Bye.